Hi, welcome to Raaonline. Today's lecture is about the internal features of heart. Objectives as per the CBME are, at the end of this session, first MBBS students will be able to describe the internal features of right atrium and left atrium, describe the internal features of right ventricle and left ventricle. So first, we will be seeing the right atrium and the left atrium. The right ventricle and left ventricle will be dealt in as part 2. Atrium internal features. Just a recap about the chambers of the heart. This is the right atrium, which receives venous blood from the lower half of the body via the inferior vena cava, from the upper half of the body via the superior vena cava, and the deoxygenated blood or the venous blood is then, the blood then passes into the right ventricle via the right atrioventricular orifice, which is guarded by the tricuspid valve. When the heart is in systole, this venous blood is then pumped out into the pulmonary trunk. Via the pulmonary trunk, which then divides into the pulmonary arteries, the deoxygenated blood reaches the lungs, where gas exchange takes place, and the oxygenated blood which returns to the heart is via the pulmonary veins. There are two pairs of pulmonary veins on each side. This is right superior pulmonary vein, right inferior pulmonary vein. This one is the left superior pulmonary vein. This is the left inferior pulmonary vein. Via these pulmonary veins, blood reaches the left atrium. What kind of blood? Oxygenated blood, because gas exchange has taken place in the lungs. Now, from the left atrium, blood enters into the left ventricle via this orifice, which is the left atrioventricular orifice, which is guarded by a valve which has two cusps and hence called the bicuspid valve. So now, oxygenated blood has reached the left ventricle. During systole, the left ventricle pumps out the oxygenated blood through the aorta into the systemic circulation. From the tissues, the blood which is carried by the aorta through its branches, the arteries, blood reaches the tissues, and then from the capillaries, venous blood then returns into the heart via the superior vena cava from the upper part of the body and via the inferior vena cava from the lower part of the body. So this is in brief about the blood flow in the different heart chambers. Now we'll see the interior of each of these one by one. Yes, this is for the external features of heart, where each of these chambers are in the exterior of the heart. This is the right ventricle, this is the left ventricle, and this is the anterior interventricular groove. Now this is the right atrium, and this one is the anterior part of the atrioventricular groove. This small appendage is the right auricle, and the left atrium, it is not visible from the anterior aspect. Only the left auricle is visible here. The left atrium, it is well seen only in the posterior aspect of the heart. So this is the anterior view of the heart. You have seen the right atrium, right ventricle, and the left ventricle. You can also note that the left ventricle forms the apex of the heart. Yes, this is a posterior view. Posterior aspect of the heart, wherein this muscular part, these are the ventricles. This is the left ventricle. This is the right ventricle. This part is the left atrium. And this chamber is the right atrium. So this small part is the left auricle, which we saw from the anterior aspect earlier, and you can see that the left atrium, it is well seen only in the posterior aspect of the heart or posterior surface of the heart, otherwise called the base of the heart, which is formed mainly by the left atrium and also partly by the right atrium. So coming into the internal features of right atrium. As you already know, this is the right atrium from the anterior aspect. This surface of the heart is called the sternocostal surface. Sternocostal surface, where you can see the right atrium. And what are these vessels? This vessel is the superior vena cava. This one is the inferior vena cava. Both of them which drain into the right atrium.